My name is Carlton Cartwright. I'm the Executive Director for the Veterans Memorial and Multicultural Histories Incorporated. Today is Saturday, April 9th, 2022. We're at the Westin Hotel in Lake Mary. And sir, what is your name?
My name is Dr. Robert LaWayne Johnson.
Okay. All right. And when's your birthday?
December 19th, 1956.
Okay. And where were you born, by the way?
I was born on a cotton plant in a small town in the Delta of Mississippi called Leland, Leland, Mississippi.
I already asked you your birthday, right?
Yes,
And what year was that you were born?
1956,
Okay. And what state was it?
Mississippi.
Got it. Okay, and what branch of the service were you in?
I was in two branches of service. I did 4 years in the Air Force, and I did a total of 35 years, so that would be 31 years in the Army.
What city do you live in presently?
Currently, Kissimmee, Florida.
Okay. So you in two branches of service.
Yes.
Were you drafted or enlisted the first time?
I enlisted
In which branch?
in the Air Force.
Uh-huh. Okay. Why did you choose that branch?
Well, there was a recruiter for the Air Force that was in my hometown, and I had talked with him and became interested in the Air Force. But at the time I wasn't ready, so I went to college, got a college degree, and re-engaged the Air Force because I felt that was the service that I wanted to be in at the time.
Okay. But why?
Well, I felt that other than the fact that they had neat uniforms, the blue uniforms,
Right.
I wanted to be a pilot and fly jets for the Air Force. When I took the vision test, they indicated to me that my vision wasn't good enough to be a pilot, and that I could be a navigator. And I kind of didn't want to do that, so I held out for a while. But then I still had a passion for the Air Force, so I took the ASVAB, and I went in as an enlisted.
Okay. And what was the other branch afterwards?
It was the Army.
Okay. So what year did you go into, what were you doing? What year did you go into service?
I went into the Air Force in '83.
Okay. And what were you doing prior to the enlistment?
I was a counselor with the Goodwill Rehabilitation Center in Chicago.
Okay, at that time, so when you entered the military, did you have a degree?
Yes, I had a bachelor's degree
In?
in psychology.
Okay, all right. And so what were you doing?
I was a navigational electronic technician.
No, I mean prior. You said you were a counselor?
Yeah, I was a counselor.
For who?
Rehab counselor for Goodwill.
Uh-huh.
Goodwill Industry.
How long had you done that? How old were you when you went into service?
Oh, about 36.
Oh, okay. Wow. Okay, so that's what I'm after. How long were you in that job prior to going into the military?
I went into that job right out of college, so I was about 22. And I worked that job for a while as a rehab counselor. And afterward, I wanted to get my education paid for, my master's degree.
Right.
And I didn't have the money to do it myself. I had a family, a wife, and a child, so I decided to join the Air Force and see some of the things that other people were talking about they were seeing throughout the world.
Got it. Okay, so you held that job for 14 years?
The one at
The counseling?
actually no. I'm sorry. I must have miscounted. I held the job as a counselor for 3 years.
Uh-huh.
And so I must have been 26,
Okay.
maybe when I went into the Air Force. Sorry about that.
Okay, not a problem.
Yeah, 26.
All right, so you went into the Air Force. Where was basic training?
Basic training was at Lackland Air Force Base.
And how long was basic training?
It was 8 weeks.
Okay. Okay, and tell me about basic training. How was it? How was the food? How were the instructors? How were your peers and the officers there? How did you get along with everybody, and how did it go?
Basic training was interesting. Again, this is the first time I had been in a military environment.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't know what to expect. I was scared out of my pants, hoping that the drill instructors wouldn't come after me like they were coming after the other individuals, and yelling at them and telling them what to do and when. So I kind of kept my mouth closed. I didn't smile a lot, and I made it through. The food was great. The instructors were very, very professional in basic training, and also in technical training, and also the drill sergeants were very caring for the students, despite the fact that they yelled at us and made us do things that we had never done before. But I realized that was their job,
right?
And they were doing their job, and they did their jobs very well.
Okay. Were there any casualties that you know of in basic?
We had one individual that got injured. We were doing the run, the 2 mile run.
Okay.
And he slipped over something, maybe a rock or something, and he went down, and they had to take him off the field, and he was taken to the hospital. The result of his fall was a broken knee.
Oh. Did he make it back to the flight?
No, he never made it back to the flight.
Okay, so where was tech school at?
Tech school was in Biloxi, Mississippi, Keesler Air Force Base.
Okay, and what was your MOS?
It was Navigational Aid Equipment Specialist. We had AFSCs, which was Air Force Specialty Code.
Right. How long was that training?
It was 3
months.
3 months. It's about 3 months.
12 weeks.
Yeah, about 12 weeks.
Yeah, 12. Right. And so, did you take a break and go home at any time before?
No.
Okay.
No.
No. So, you went straight to your first duty station?
Yes.
Which was where?
Which was at Pope Air Force Base, North Carolina.
Okay. And how long was that tour?
It was 3 years.
3 years. And you practiced you said navigation, right?
Yeah, right.
So what kind of planes you were on planes?
We were at Pope Air Force Base, and Pope Air Force Base had C-130s and 141s, transport planes. And our job was to manage the navigational aid equipment, the TACAN, and the instrument landing system that gave the aircraft the signal and the station code to come in to land.
Okay. So, did you fly on the plane? With the crew?
I flew on the plane when we had to test or validate the equipment. I flew on the plane.
Okay. Otherwise, you were on the ground?
Right.
in what the what do you call it? The flight control center.
No, we were at a maintenance facility.
Uh-huh.
We were maintenance, and we were with Air Force Communication Command.
Okay, all right. So, tell me about your tour there. How were you treated? How was the job? Was it a 9-to-5 job? Or was it, on call 24 hours a day? Tell me about that 3-year tour.
We were on shifts, and my shift usually ran for 8 o'clock in the morning until 5, and then we had beepers. And if something went wrong with a system where an aircraft was coming in,
Right.
and the system went down, then the tower, air traffic control tower, would call us, one of us that was on standby, and we would go out and we would service the system. We turned our beepers in the next morning at 8 o'clock. So it was like a 24-hour tour of duty
Right.
per day, and with 2 days off.
Okay, all right. Oh, so there was like a rotation.
Yes,
Uh-huh.
yes.
Okay.
12 hours, I'm sorry, not 24 hours.
Right. Over that 3-year period, did you get to travel anywhere, either on R&R or TDY?
No, we stayed there at Pope Air Force Base for the whole 3 years.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
And how was the food?
The food was really well. I mean, it was not better than Mama's food, but it was really good.
Okay. Okay. And were there any casualties over that 3-year period? You might get hurt. Did you get hurt?
I didn't get hurt,
Uh-huh.
but we had a captain. His name was Captain Eastburn. He was the chief of the Air Traffic Control Center,
Right.
and his wife and 2 kids were murdered by a civilian.
Wow.
And so that was the only casualty that we had.
Okay. So, where was your next duty base?
That was it as far as the Air Force was concerned.
Okay. So what happened after that?
After I left after I got an honorable discharge from the Air Force, I went back to Chicago where my wife was living prior to us meeting. So we went back to Chicago. We set up a residence in Chicago, and I got a job as a restaurant manager at a restaurant at O'Hare Airport.
Oh, okay. And how long did you do that?
I did that for about 6 months.
So what happened after that?
After that, I ran into an old friend of mine who was a lieutenant in the Army,
Okay.
and he asked me whether or not I was interested in joining the Army, and I said, "No, man, I just got out of the Air Force, man. I'm not going back into this stuff,
Right.
especially if they want me to do another basic training." He said, "Come on, man, I'll introduce you. What do you want to do?"
Right.
I said, "I want to be an attorney." He said, "I tell you what, I'll introduce you to a guy, and he'll talk to you, and we'll get you situated."
Okay. So,
Well, the guy that he wanted me to talk to was a recruiter, and so
trap door.
yeah. So I told him that what I wanted to do. He said, "I tell you what, I could get you close to being an attorney." He said, "You got to go to law school to be an attorney." I said, "I understand that."
Uh-huh.
He said, "But I can get you close to being an attorney." He said, "I could make you a legal specialist."
Uh-huh.
And I said, "Okay, let's do it." And so at that point, we signed the paper, and I said, "I'll do it under the condition that I don't have to go to basic training.
Right.
And he said, okay, we'll bring you in as an E3. Well, at the time I was an E5.
Right.
And so I had to give up 2 ranks.
Wow.
And go to be an legal
E3.
specialist in the Army.
Okay. So, you skipped basic training.
Yep.
And so, did you have to go to tech school?
Yeah, I did go to tech school for legal specialists.
Okay, and how long was that?
That was, about 6 months.
Okay. And where was the tech school?
I knew you was going to ask me that. Where was that tech school? Legal specialist. Oh, Fort Ben Harris. Fort Ben Harris, Indiana.
Indiana?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So you were there for 6 months?
Yeah.
So how did it go?
It went really well. I learned a lot about the military judicial system. Learned a lot about the Uniform Code of Military Justice.
Right.
And the structure of the Army, the rule of law, and so I really got into something that I really enjoyed.
Okay. All right. So now 6 months has gone by. You had a successful stint in training in school.
Right.
So where's the next duty station?
The next duty station was Fort Sheridan, Illinois. I did a couple months there, and then I applied for a job in Indianapolis, Indiana. Again, I was a reservist at the time.
Oh, okay.
I applied for a job in Indianapolis, Indiana. Got picked up with the 123rd RSC, which is the Regional Support Command.
Okay.
In Indianapolis, Indiana, and stayed there for about a year, and then got picked up with the 120, I believe it was 123rd Logistics Support Command.
Okay.
They sent me to court reporter school in Newport, Rhode Island. I became a court reporter, and 2 months after I graduated, I was in Saudi Arabia.
Okay.
So things weren't going well for me.
Is that trap door?
Yeah, that's what I'm telling you, man. You can't be prepared for those things. They just pop happen.
You can't make them up.
You can't make them up.
So what was your job when you got to Saudi Arabia?
I was a court reporter.
Okay, and I'm really curious, what kind of cases were you court reporting?
We had UCMJ violations. That was my word here. The toughest case that we had was a case where we had 2 military members go to Bahrain without authorization.
Okay.
Got drunk in Bahrain. Of course, you weren't allowed to drink in Saudi, nor were you allowed to bring the liquor back because it was a no alcohol state, at least for us.
Right.
So they went over to Bahrain, got drunk, and on their way back, they realized that they were going down a one-way street, turned around, and when they turned around, they hit another vehicle. The vehicle went up on the sidewalk and he killed a pedestrian.
Oh, Lord.
And so we had to go to Bahrain and get them out of custody, and we court-martialed both of them. And one of them was an EMT medic who had worked in the civilian sector prior to the war in in Saudi, the Gulf War.
Right.
So unfortunately, with his conviction, he became a felon, and so he probably wasn't able to get a job when he came back to the States.
Right.
The other one was I believe a police officer, and again the same fate
Wow.
happened.
Okay, so give me one more memorable incident during your stint in Saudi.
As you know, and as the world knows, we got hit with a Scud in '91. We lost 28 American soldiers
Jeez.
as a result of the Iraqi Scud that hit Dhahran. I was a first responder to that attack. And so that had to have been the most horrific deal that I had ever encountered in my life. And even when I think about it or talk about it, it really tears me up. I spend time alone, away from my family, thinking about what happened in that attack, and still hear the voices of the soldiers begging me to save them and not to let them die over in Saudi Arabia, saying that they want their mamas, and there was really nothing anybody could do for many of them, especially 28 of them. And we did get some of them out, and but it was just horrific.
Speaking of casualties, during your 3-year tour, you were there for 3 years?
In Saudi?
Yeah.
I was in Saudi for 8 months.
8 months.
Mm-hmm.
8 months. Off the top of your head, how many casualties do you think you witnessed? Or, yeah, overall?
In Saudi, it was the 28 that I
Right.
witnessed. That was the first time that I've ever seen a casualty of war. And the last time
Okay,
that I saw a casualty of war.
that was it?
Yeah.
First and last?
Yes.
Okay, that was enough.
Yes.
Okay, so besides that, how was the rest of that tour for 8 months?
It was I was an African American, E5, in a unit that was predominantly white. And the equality I was one of the only African Americans.
Right.
And the equality wasn't very good.
How many other black people there besides you?
In my unit with the 22nd SubCom, there were one other black soldier, but he was an E6, and I was an E4. And so all of the manual stuff, of course, I had to do it. It wasn't, I guess, for being an E4, that was something that was expected. The burn pits, we had to feed the burn pits.
What is a burn pit?
Burn pit is a big trench that we dig or have dug for the purpose of burning old computer equipment. We burn animals in there. We burn computer disks in there. You just throw it in there, and you throw diesel fuel on it, and you light it on fire, and you burn it to destroy it so that the enemy can't get it.
Did you say you burn animals in there?
You burn animals in there. If you come across a dead camel that's in your camp,
Yeah.
you throw the dead camel in the burn pit.
Okay.
Tin cans, old furniture, old clothes. You throw all of that stuff in there. Now, based on the literature that I've read, our exposure to the burn pits may be the result of some of the issues that we're having. Like for me, I have respiratory issues. I also have an issue with rash on my arms, on my elbows, and that's as a result of my burning stuff. Okay. Migraines, that's as a result of my feet in the burn pits. We also did the burning of the collection and the burning of feces, human feces, because we had outdoor toilets.
Right.
And that was the job that the E3s and the E4s did. Again, I was an E4 at the time, so I was burning feces.
Okay. So, okay, at the end of the 8 months, what was your next tour? Oh, did you get to travel anywhere on R&R outside? You know,
No.
what'd you do on a break or?
No, we didn't.
Where'd you go for an R&R?
I was scheduled to go to Bahrain, but my unit allowed me to go back to the States.
Okay, take a break?
No, to leave the area, leave the arena.
So that was at the end of the
That was the end of that.
Okay, and where'd you go back to in the States?
To Indianapolis, Indiana.
And how long was that tour?
I was in the reserves, and I stayed in Indianapolis in the reserves for about 2 more years, and then I took a tour to a unit in Ohio, Black Lake, Ohio.
Well, hold on. So you're in the reserves. You're back in Indiana.
Yep.
Did you have a civilian job?
Yes, I did.
Doing what?
I was working with the Department of Navy.
So was it a GS job?
Yeah, I was a personnel management specialist.
Okay. All right. And I just take it for granted that was under FRS?
FERS.
Florida Retirement System. You weren't
Yeah,
you?
federal retirement. Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Federal employee retirement. Yes.
Good.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. So, and what was that job?
That was a personnel management specialist.
And
I was a GS. When I went to Saudi, I was a GS. Okay. And when I came back, I was a GS 11.
Okay. That wasn't bad, was it?
A GS 11.
Right.
The salary was. I took a hit on the salary when I got activated, but all of the money that you get was not taxable. So I believe we came out pretty well.
Not bad.
Not bad.
Okay. All right. So how long were you in Indiana before you moved on this time?
We were in Indiana. We left Indiana in 95, and this occurred, I got back from Saudi in 91. And so from 91 to 95, we were in Indiana.
Did you get to travel anywhere? Okay, so you're back in Indiana, you're back in the States. Where did you vacation? Or were you required to do TDYs?
No.
No?
No.
Okay, so did you travel anywhere on vacation?
I traveled with the federal government, and of course I was able to take my families with me. We traveled to Washington, just local stuff.
Okay.
That we traveled, but I have traveled with the military to Germany, to Switzerland, to the UK, to France, Paris, France, to Luxembourg and Amsterdam, Holland.
did you get to enjoy any of that?
I
Was
yeah
it
we
all work?
I enjoyed a lot of it.
Okay. Okay.
So it wasn't all work.
Right. Good.
I,
Okay. So you said where did you go after Indiana?
after Indiana, I relocated
Where?
to Kissimmee.
Okay.
Actually, it wasn't Kissimmee. It was to Dr. Phillips.
Huh?
Dr. Phillips is a subdivision of, it's like Orlando. It's a section of Orlando, Florida.
Oh, okay. And it's called Dr. Phillips?
Dr. Phillips, named after a doctor that put a lot of money in that area several years ago, many years ago, right?
Okay, and so is that where you live now?
That's where I live now.
Okay, and how long have you been there?
Since 95.
Okay. So now you still have a civilian GS job
I do have a civilian GS
and
job.
you're still doing reserve.
No,
Not now,
no,
but when you first came.
yes,
Okay.
yes,
And so I take it that you ended your reserve career here
yes,
in Kissimmee.
yes.
All right. So how many years total did you have in the military? Total.
35.
35 years. Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you.
And so, do you still have that civilian job?
Yes.
Oh, okay. And how many years have you been doing this? How many years have you been a GS total?
37.
Congratulations again.
Thank you.
Okay, so when you got here, what was your job?
When I got here, my job was
In both areas.
when I got here in the federal government, my job was an administrative officer,
Okay.
GS 12.
Okay.
When my military job was a legal administrative officer, which was a CW2
Right.
at the time.
Right. Okay. The military job was what again? Say.
It was a legal administrative officer.
Okay. And the civilian job
Was an administrative officer.
Got it. All right. All right. Okay. So, what year did you stop? What year did you separate from the military?
2016.
All right. And so I guess you just carried on with the civilian job,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
All right. So, was there any travel involved?
And my
Either
civilian,
one now. Either one.
again, with my military job as an as a legal administrative specialist,
Uh-huh.
I ascend to the rank of CW4 promotable to 5. And as a CW4 promotable to 5, I was part of the legal command, which was in Gaithersburg, Florida.
Okay.
My job with the legal command was a G7, which is a training officer, and I was responsible for training warrant officers in the JAG Corps across the country. And so I traveled all over the country, training warrant officers. As a admin officer in the Department of Navy, I didn't do any travel, but 3 years after I started as an admin officer, I was picked up as a logistics manager. I was working with Navy programs, specifically the F-18, the C-130s, gunship, the what's it called? The A6, not the I can't even the Avenger, the Avenger. I'll remember the name of the aircraft in a few, but it was the Avenger and the H-60.
Okay. Okay.
EA-6B.
Throughout your military career, do you feel like you always had all the supplies that you needed?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And oh, by the way, throughout your military career, did you ever have a problem staying in touch with your family?
No.
All right. Good. Good. All right. So, were you ever directly in the line of fire in combat?
In Saudi Arabia.
Mm-hmm. Right. Did out of your own unit, were those 28 in your unit?
No.
No.
The 28 were from my unit was from Indianapolis, and because we were the legal advisors for General Schwarzkopf and General Baconis in the Dhahran area, all of the units fell under us. And so we had a unit come in from Ohio, and they were the unit, and Pennsylvania, they were the units that got hit.
Okay.
But we were responsible for managing the legal jurisdiction. They were within our jurisdiction as far as UCMJ was concerned.
Right. Okay, so, and thank God you were never a prisoner of war.
Oh, yeah.
Medals and citations?
I have a Bronze Star.
Mm-hmm.
I have 2 Meritorious Service medals. I have 6 accommodation medals. I have 5 achievement medals. I have 2 Gulf War on Terrorist medals. And I have a host of other medals, training medals, and also combat medals.
Can I get you to put your hat on for the rest of the interview? Nice. There you go. All right. Okay. Bronze Star, heroism. Very nice. Okay, just a few more questions. Tell me, besides the 28, throughout your military career, tell me 2 of the other most memorable experiences that you had.
I think one of the happy, memorable experience that I had was when I came back from Saudi Arabia after spending those months over there, and I was able to reunite with my family. I had 2 daughters at the time and my wife. I think that was a memorable occasion.
Okay.
We really missed each other. I think another memorable occasion was when I graduated from warrant officer, basic.
What is a CW, by the way?
It's a chief warrant officer.
Oh, okay. And what rank is that? E?
That's above the E. That's above the E9. We are comparable. Our rank rides right along. We're technical officers, okay?
Right.
And regular officers are general officers. So our rank rides right along beside the general. Not general like the stars, but rather the regular officers. And so a CWO is like a lieutenant, first lieutenant. CW1 is like a second lieutenant. CW2 is like a captain. CW3 could be a major. CW4 would be a lieutenant colonel.
Right.
CW5
Colonel.
would be a colonel.
Okay.
Yes.
And what were you?
I was a CW4P. When I left, I was on the list to be promoted to a CW5, which would have made me comparable to a colonel.
Okay. But you didn't acquire that, so you were at major?
I was at major.
Or lieutenant colonel?
Lieutenant colonel.
Lieutenant colonel.
Lieutenant colonel.
Got it.
I had some of the same functions as a lieutenant colonel.
Okay. And you did use your GI Bill for school, didn't you?
No.
No. Okay. You have your PhD, I believe?
I have a PhD and a JD, and two masters, an MBA and an MA.
Did you use your GI Bill for any of those?
No.
No?
No.
All right, so why?
I attempted to use my GI Bill for my let me back up. When I was in the Air Force paid for my first master's.
Okay.
So I don't know whether or not that was considered under the GI.
Well, yeah, I would imagine.
Okay. So from that perspective, yes, I did use my GI.
Okay.
But at no other point did I use it, because I attempted to use it, and the unit admin person kind of screwed up the paperwork, and they didn't qualify me for the bill. And so I had to use my own money
Right.
to pay for my courses, or student loans.
Right. Have you maintained any of your close friendships from the military?
Oh yes, I'm close friends with a lot of JAG attorneys here in Florida.
Nice. Okay. And I know you belong to Democratic Veterans Caucus. Do you belong to any other military organizations?
I belong to the DAV, Disabled Veterans of Osceola County. I belong to the Eagles.
Okay.
I belong to the VFW of Osceola
All right.
County.
Nice. Okay, just a few more questions. Did your military experience influence your thinking about war or about the military in general?
I think, yeah, it broadened my horizon.
Mm-hmm.
I was born and raised on a plantation
Right.
down in Mississippi. So the only thing that we knew at that point was going to the fields, chopping cotton, picking cotton, coming home and being with family.
Right.
We did not know, or I didn't know anything about war or the conflicts that individuals were going through in the world.
Okay.
When I joined the military, that opened up a whole new avenue for me. Notwithstanding the fact that we had history in school, but it's nothing like being right there in it, involved, and seeing how the conflict that people have to deal with from different cultures, from different societies, what's my word here, the greed, if you will, that dictators exert over society, as opposed to that society being democratic.
Okay. How did your service and experiences affect your life?
I think I grew a lot from the military, and I think that I took that growth and those lessons learned, and I passed it on to my daughters. I have two daughters.
Right.
One of my daughters is an ensign in the Navy, and she is finishing up medical school. The Navy is sending her to medical school, and so she'll get her MD in May.
Uh-huh.
My other daughter is a budget policy analyst in the Pentagon. And so I don't think that these girls would have gone, and they do a lot for this country. I don't think that these would have gone the direction that they went without me going, or without them seeing their father in the military. Additionally, almost every individual in my family, nephews and nieces, are in the military. I was the first to go into the military.
Okay.
So from that perspective, it has changed the family's structure. The military has been a catalyst, if you will, that pulled us off the plantation
Right.
in Mississippi to where we are today.
Okay. Okay. Is there anything that you feel like you'd like to share that we haven't?
Yeah, I'm an advocate for veterans. I'm I have an organization that's entitled the Florida Coalition to Prevent Veteran Homelessness, and I think that we have an obligation to those individuals that put their lives on the line, for individuals that they did not know and probably will not know for the rest of their lives. But yet we made a pledge to defend and protect the Constitution of the United States, making this country and this world better. And for my veteran brothers and sisters to have to come back to the States and sleep in their cars, sleep on the street, and sleep in the woods are unacceptable. For their kids to have to starve, to be so distressed or so stressed that they're committing suicide because they've just given up is unacceptable. For them to have mental health issues that are not being looked at and not being treated for things like PTSD and TBI is unacceptable. And I think that we need to stand up and we need to do those things here in the state of Florida, here in this country, to ensure that those 380,000 veterans throughout this country that are homeless get the type, and hungry, get the type of support that they need. We have at least 18,000 homeless veterans here in the state of Florida. And even one, I submit to you, even one being homeless is too many.
Okay, well, I want to thank you for a great interview. And I also want to thank you for your past, present, and future service.
Thank you.